Picture this. Food prices are skyrocketing again. But this time, it's not just eggs or beef, it's rice, canned goods, even salt. Shelves are thinning out, and your wallet's feeling the squeeze. Now imagine this, rationing from your own pantry, because prices have spiked or the stores are wiped clean overnight. What's going to keep you fed, fueled, and sane for months or even years? Spoiler alert, it's not just rice and beans. Sure, they'll fill your stomach, but they won't cover the calories, nutrition, or variety you need to actually survive. Trust me, I learned this the hard way back in 2020, when my so-called stockpile ran out of variety long before it ran out of food. I'm David, and I've spent years testing real-world prepping strategies, everything from Mylar sealing and oxygen absorbers to bulk buying hacks at Costco, Walmart, and even Dollar Tree. Here's the cold, hard truth. Food inflation isn't slowing down. The USDA food price outlook for 2025 predicts another 2.2 to 3.3% jump this year alone. And during past droughts, staples like rice doubled in price. So waiting to stock up? That's a gamble you can't afford. Today, I'm breaking down the 13 foods you need to stockpile first, with exact price ranges, shelf life hacks, and 3 budget swaps that stretch every dollar. Number 7, it's the morale booster no one talks about. But trust me, it's a game changer. This isn't theory or clickbait. I've tested these strategies myself, rotating canned meat through 2 brutal summers, sealing rice for 30-year storage, and comparing bulk prices across every major retailer. The truth is, most survival lists set you up for failure, burnout, fatigue, and regret. You don't need 100 random items, you need 13 that will actually keep you alive, energized, and sane when the world goes sideways. Let's get into it. White rice, the immortal calorie king. If there's one food that stands the test of time, chaos, and inflation, it's white rice. Not the fancy organic jasmine or basmati you see in overpriced health stores. Just plain, polished white rice. The kind that, when stored properly, can outlast most of the junk in your garage. Let's get real. White rice is the ultimate survival staple. It's cheap, versatile, and when sealed in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, it can last 25 to 30 years. That's not a guess. That's straight from Utah State University's research. 30 years. Think about that. You could buy a bag today, and it'll still be good when your grandkids are complaining about the price of water. Here's the kicker. Even in 2025, with inflation hitting everything from bread to beef, white rice remains one of the most affordable calorie sources on the planet. Depending on where you shop, you're looking at 60 cents to $1.20 per pound. That's pennies for a food that can keep you alive when everything else is either too expensive or completely gone. But here's where most people screw up. They buy those 20-pound bags, toss them in the pantry, and wonder why they're infested with bugs 6 months later. Don't be that person. Repack it. Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, and a cool, dry storage spot. One afternoon of effort, and you've got decades of food security. And let's not forget versatility. White rice isn't just a side dish, it's a survival workhorse. Breakfast porridge, stir-fry base, soup thickener, or even a filler for casseroles. It's the calorie anchor that keeps you going when everything else runs out. Pro tip, keep a few number 10 cans of rice for easy rotation, but stash the bulk of it in sealed bags for long-term storage. It's cheaper, and the result is the same. White rice is simple, cheap, and practically immortal. And trust me, you'll want it on hand when you see what pairs perfectly with it. 2. Dried beans. The protein powerhouse. Let's talk about the unsung hero of survival food. Dried beans. Pinto, black, navy, lentils. It doesn't matter. These humble little legumes are the cheapest, most reliable source of protein you can stockpile. Period. While everyone's out there hoarding canned goods and overpriced freeze-dried meals, you can quietly build a protein-packed pantry for pennies on the dollar. Even with 2025's inflation, bulk beans are still holding steady at $1 to $2 per pound. That's insane value when you realize a single pound can feed 4 people. Protein, fiber, and calories, all in one scoop. But here's the catch. Beans don't last forever. Yeah, they're safe to eat for decades if stored properly, but after 3 to 5 years, they start to get stubborn. You soak them, you boil them, and they just won't soften. It's not spoilage, it's just age. I learned this the hard way with a batch of pintos I'd stored since 2018. They looked fine, smelled fine, but after 6 hours on the stove, they were still rock hard. The fix? Baking soda. Add a pinch to your soak water, or better yet, use a light salt brine overnight. It breaks down the bean skins and brings even old stock back to life. Now, if you're on a tight budget or need something ready to eat, canned beans are a decent backup. They cost more and take up more space, but they're ready to eat straight from the can, no soaking, no boiling, no waiting. That's a lifesaver when the power's out or you're short on time. But make no mistake, dried beans are the real and they're dirt cheap, nutrient dense, and if stored right, they're practically timeless. And here's the best part. The next item on this list makes beans taste gourmet. You'll want it right next to them in your pantry. 3. Freeze-dried meals. Morale in a pouch. When the world's falling apart and you're running on adrenaline, taste matters. That's where freeze-dried meals come in. Think Mountain House, ReadyWise, Backpacker's Pantry, those shiny pouches that turn boiling water into a hot meal in minutes. These aren't just survival rations, they're fully cooked meals. Chili mac, beef stroganoff, chicken teriyaki, flash frozen, and vacuum dried to lock in every ounce of flavor and nutrition. Add water, wait 10 minutes, and boom, you've got a meal that feels almost normal again. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Price. Freeze-dried meals aren't cheap. You're looking at $8 to $12 per serving, depending on the brand and flavor. But here's the brutal truth. You're not paying for calories. You're paying for morale, variety, and convenience when everything else feels chaotic. According to Mountain House, these meals can last 25 to 30 years if stored properly. That's not marketing fluff. It's lab verified. You could buy a bucket today and hand it down to your grandkids. Why does this matter? Because when supply chains break down and grocery store shelves are empty, having a stash of freeze-dried meals is like having a safety net. They're lightweight, easy to store, and require minimal effort to prepare. And for elderly family members or kids, they're a godsend. A hot, familiar meal can make all the difference when stress kills your appetite. But let's be real. Nobody's living on $10 meals every day. The smart move is hybrid prepping. Stock up on freeze-dried meals for short-term emergencies or morale boosts, and fill the rest of your pantry with bulk staples like rice, beans, and powdered mixes. Think of these pouches as your instant comfort stash. Pro tip: rotate them like fine wine. Use a few for camping trips or blackout nights, and replace what you use. In a real emergency, food that tastes good can be the difference between surviving and thriving. 4. Powdered milk. The overlooked essential. Milk. It's one of those things you don't think about until it's gone. But in a survival scenario, it's more than just a drink. It's comfort, nutrition, and versatility in a can. Enter powdered milk, the unsung hero of long-term food storage. Non-fat dry milk, NFDM, has been around forever. But modern versions are cleaner, mix easier, and taste way better than the chalky stuff your grandparents dreaded. And if you want to go next level, freeze-dried whey-based milk alternatives are a game-changer. They last longer, pack more protein, and don't come with the lactose crash. Here's the data. Standard non-fat dry milk lasts 3 to 5 years if stored properly. But freeze-dried whey blends, they can stretch up to 25 years when vacuum-sealed and stored in a cool, dry place. That's an entire generation of shelf life for something you can pour over cereal, stir into coffee, or use in baking. And the cost? Regular powdered milk runs about $2 to $6 per pound depending on the brand and bulk size. The high-end freeze-dried options are pricier, but they're worth it for the added protein and longer storage. Why is this so important? Because most people focus on calories when they prep, not nutrients. But milk powder adds calcium, protein, and baking power to your pantry. You can reconstitute it for drinking, use it in bread and pancake recipes, or even mix it into DIY electrolyte drinks. A spoonful of milk powder, sugar, salt, and water can replace those expensive store-bought mixes. And let's be honest, when the grid's down, a splash of creamy milk in your coffee or oatmeal can feel priceless. Here's the pro move. Mix regular NFDM for daily use, and stash freeze-dried whey for long-term storage. One gives you comfort now, the other gives you confidence for decades. Milk might not be the first thing you think of when prepping, but trust me, you'll miss it when it's gone. 5. Emergency ration bars, the lifesaver you'll forget until you need it. Let's talk about the unsung hero of survival food. Emergency ration bars. These compact, calorie-packed bricks from brands like Daytrex and Mainstay are the quiet professionals of the prepping world. They're not flashy, they're not gourmet, but they're engineered to do one thing: keep you alive when everything else fails. These bars are designed under strict maritime safety standards, the same ones used for lifeboats under SOLAS and U.S. Coast Guard regulations. Translation: they're built to survive extreme conditions, from temperature swings to years of storage, without losing their effectiveness. Here's the deal. Each bar is a dense, compressed biscuit packed with 2,400 to 3,600 calories, depending on the brand. That's enough energy to keep you going for a day or more, all in a package smaller than a paperback book. And the best part, they're idiot-proof. No cooking, no water, no utensils. Just rip it open and eat. They're heat-stable, non-thirst-provoking, and crumb-resistant, making them perfect for high-stress situations where you don't have time to mess around. Now, let's talk numbers. A case of these bars is surprisingly affordable, often beating the price per calorie of your average protein or granola bar. But don't think of these as your everyday snack. They're your short-term lifeline, perfect for 72-hour kits, bug-out bags, or roadside emergencies. The shelf life is typically around 5 years, which isn't as long as some other survival foods, but that's not the point. These bars are your bridge fuel, the thing that gets you through the first chaotic hours or days of a disaster until you can access your main supplies. Pro tip: stash a pack in every vehicle, backpack, and emergency kit you own. Emergencies don't wait for you to be ready, and these bars ensure you'll have the energy to deal with whatever comes your way. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for item 6. It's where survival meets comfort, and it might just be the most morale-boosting food in your entire prep. 6. Canned fish, the protein-packed pantry hero. When people think of survival food, they usually picture rice, beans, or MRE. But let me tell you, they're sleeping on one of the most underrated prepping superfoods: canned fish. Sardines, tuna, salmon. These little tins are absolute powerhouses of nutrition. They're high in protein, loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, and completely ready to eat. No stove, no water, no prep. Just pop the lid, and you've got a meal. Here's why canned fish deserves a spot in your stockpile. First, it's shelf-stable. Most cans have a shelf life of 3 to 5 years, but if stored properly in a cool, dry place, they can last even longer. Second, they're incredibly versatile. Pair them with rice, mix them into pasta, or eat them straight out of the can. And third, they're a morale booster. When you're weeks into eating bland survival food, the rich, salty flavor of canned fish can feel like a luxury. Now, let's talk cost. Even in 2025, you can find canned fish for as little as $1 to $4 per can, depending on the type and brand. Sardines are the budget-friendly option, packed with protein and calcium, thanks to the edible bones. Tuna is a classic, offering a lean protein source that's easy to mix into other dishes. And salmon, it's the nutrient-dense superstar, loaded with healthy fats and vitamins. Pro tip: diversify your stock. Keep a mix of traditional cans for long-term storage and lightweight pouches for your bug-out bag or car kit. The pouches are easier to carry and eat on the go, making them perfect for emergencies. And if you want to maximize calories, go for sardines packed in olive oil. The added fat not only boosts the calorie count but also helps preserve the fish's texture over time. Bottom line, canned fish is compact, nutrient-dense, and morale-boosting, a triple threat for survival nutrition. And trust me, you'll want it in your pantry when you see what's next. Item 7 is all about turning bland survival food into something you actually look forward to eating. 7 Miso paste and fermented condiments. The flavor saviors. Survival isn't just about calories, it's about sanity, and nothing kills morale faster than eating bland, flavorless food day after day. That's where miso paste and fermented condiments come in. These aren't just flavor enhancers, they're survival tools that add salt, probiotics, and electrolytes to your diet, all things your body craves under stress. Miso paste, made from fermented soybeans, rice, or barley, is a powerhouse of umami flavor. A single spoonful can transform a bowl of plain rice or a cup of hot water into a savory, comforting meal. And the best part, it lasts. Traditional miso, especially the unpasteurized kind, can stay good for years if stored properly. Some preppers even joke that miso is the condiment that never quits. Keep it cool, keep it sealed, and it'll outlast most of your pantry. But miso is just the beginning. Fermented condiments like soy sauce, gochujang, and kimchi paste offer similar benefits. They're packed with flavor, have long shelf lives, and provide a boost of electrolytes and probiotics. Plus, they're incredibly versatile. Add soy sauce to your rice, mix gochujang into your beans, or stir kimchi paste into a soup. Suddenly, your survival food doesn't feel like survival food anymore. Here's the kicker: miso and fermented condiments aren't just about taste, they're about morale. After weeks of eating the same staples, a burst of flavor can make all the difference. It keeps you eating, keeps you hydrated, and keeps you sane, and in a survival scenario, that's priceless. Pro tip: stock a mix of instant miso soup packets for quick, easy meals and traditional miso paste for long-term storage. The packets are great for bug-out bags, while the paste is perfect for your pantry, and don't forget to rotate your stock. Use it in your everyday cooking to keep it fresh and familiar. 8. Sugar and salt, the timeless essentials. If there's one thing every prepper needs, it's sugar and salt. These two simple ingredients are the backbone of any survival pantry. They're cheap, they're versatile, and they never expire when stored properly. But don't let their simplicity fool you. Sugar and salt are absolute game changers in a survival scenario. Let's start with salt. It's not just a seasoning, it's a preservative, an electrolyte, and even a survival medicine. Salt prevents bacterial growth, helps your body retain water, and can even be used to clean wounds in a pinch. In hot or stressful conditions, a pinch of salt can mean the difference between functioning and fatigue. And when it comes to food preservation, salt is indispensable. From curing meats to fermenting vegetables, it's the key to making your food last. Now, sugar. It's more than just a sweetener. Sugar is a quick source of energy, a key ingredient in food preservation, and a morale booster. A spoonful of sugar can stabilize blood sugar levels after physical exertion, and it's essential for making jams, syrups, and fermented foods. Plus, let's be honest, when everything else is falling apart, a little sweetness can go a long way in keeping spirits up. Here's the best part: both sugar and salt are incredibly easy to store. Keep them dry, airtight, and away from moisture, and they'll last indefinitely. Use mason jars, mylar bags, or food-grade buckets to keep them safe. And remember, plain iodized or sea salt stores better than fancy blends with additives, and white granulated sugar is your best all-purpose option. Bottom line, sugar and salt aren't just pantry staples, they're survival essentials. They preserve your food, keep your body functioning, and make your meals taste human again. And trust me, you'll want them on hand when the grid goes down. Up next, item 9 takes survival to the next level, with a food that can literally cook your meal when the power's out. 9. Honey, nature's eternal survival fuel. If there's one food that stood the test of time, literally thousands of years, it's honey. This isn't just a sweetener, it's a survival powerhouse. Archaeologists have found jars of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs over 3,000 years old, and guess what? It was still perfectly edible. That's not a fluke, it's science. Honey's low moisture content and natural acidity make it nearly impossible for bacteria or mold to grow. As long as it's sealed and stored in a dry place, honey is essentially immortal. But honey isn't just about shelf life. It's a multi-purpose survival tool. Feeling low on energy after weeks of rationing, a spoonful of honey delivers an instant glucose boost. No caffeine, no crash, got a cut or burn, and no antiseptic. Honey's antibacterial properties can help prevent infection. It literally draws moisture out of bacteria, killing it on contact. Ancient civilizations used honey as medicine, and modern science backs it up. In a crisis, that little jar of golden liquid could save your life. Now, let's talk cost. Honey prices range from a few dollars for basic clover honey to $30 or more for raw, unfiltered varieties like Manuka. But even the cheapest honey is a priceless investment for your prepper pantry. And if it crystallizes over time, don't panic. That's natural. Just place the jar in warm water and it'll return to its smooth liquid state. Bottom line, honey isn't just food, it's fuel, medicine, and morale in one jar. It's the kind of thing you'll be grateful for when everything else feels bleak. And speaking of gratitude, let's move on to item 10, a food that combines protein, fat, and flavor in a way that's both practical and comforting. 10. Canned meats, protein that lasts. When most people think of canned meats, they picture Spam or corned beef and immediately cringe. But let me tell you something, in a survival scenario, these salty, shelf-stable proteins are worth their weight in gold. Why? Because they hit the survival trifecta: protein, fat, and flavor. These are the three things your body craves when you're living off rice and beans for weeks on end. Canned meats, like Spam, Vienna sausages, and corned beef, are dense calorie blocks that don't need refrigeration, cooking, or even seasoning. They're ready to eat straight out of the can, making them perfect for emergencies. And here's the kicker: they taste the same after years on the shelf. The high sodium content that health experts warn against in normal times is exactly what keeps these meats safe and edible for 3 to 5 years or longer if stored properly. Let's talk numbers. A can of Spam or corned beef costs between $2 and $5 depending on the brand and size. Compare that to freeze-dried meat, which can run $8 to $15 per serving, and it's clear which option gives you more bang for your buck. Plus, canned meats are versatile. Mix them with rice, pasta, or potatoes to stretch your calories and reduce the sodium per serving. Or fry them up for a hot, comforting meal that smells like stability. Pro tip: keep a mix of pull-tab cans for your bug-out bag and regular cans for your pantry. Rotate them yearly to keep your stock fresh. You might not crave Spam now, but in a grid-down scenario, it'll feel like a gourmet treat. And speaking of comfort food, let's move on to item 11. A pantry staple that's as versatile as it is satisfying. 11. Pasta, the carb king of comfort. If there's one food that can turn a survival meal into something that feels like home, it's pasta. Simple, cheap, and endlessly versatile, pasta is the unsung hero of any long-term pantry. While everyone's busy stockpiling rice and beans, pasta quietly delivers dense, stable carbohydrates that cook quickly, pair with almost anything, and stretch your calories further than most staples. Here's the math. A single pound of pasta provides around 1,600 to 1,800 calories and costs just $1 to $2 in bulk. That's pennies per serving, making it one of the most cost-effective foods you can stockpile. And despite what some people think, pasta doesn't spoil quickly. Properly stored in a cool, dry, airtight environment, it can last 2 to 5 years, or even longer if vacuum-sealed with oxygen absorbers. But pasta isn't just about calories. It's about morale. The smell of boiling noodles, the steam rising from the pot. It's a little slice of normalcy in a chaotic world. And it's versatile. Spaghetti, penne, macaroni, couscous. Each shape serves a different purpose. Spaghetti is compact and easy to store. Penne is perfect for one-pot meals. And couscous can be prepared with just boiling water. No stove required. Pro tip: stock a variety of shapes and rotate them yearly. And don't forget semolina, the coarse wheat flour used to make pasta and couscous. It's high in protein and energy, making it a great addition to your prepper pantry. Pair it with powdered milk or canned meat, and you've got a meal that feels like home cooking. And speaking of meals, let's move on to item 12. The trio that turns bland survival food into something you actually look forward to eating. 12. Bouillon, electrolytes, and coffee. The flavor and focus trio. Survival isn't just about calories. It's about keeping your body and mind in the game. And that's where this trio comes in. Bouillon cubes, electrolyte mixes, and instant coffee. These aren't just pantry extras, they're survival essentials that keep you hydrated, focused, and sane. Let's start with bouillon. These tiny cubes or powder packets might not look like much, but they're packed with flavor and sodium. Two things you'll desperately need in a survival scenario. Drop one into boiling water, and suddenly your bland rice or beans taste like a real meal. Beyond flavor, bouillon delivers the sodium and trace minerals your body loses during stress or exertion. Next up, electrolytes. Whether it's a packet of liquid IV Gatorade powder or a DIY mix of salt and sugar, electrolytes are a game changer. They prevent dehydration, headaches, and muscle cramps, especially when you're sweating more or drinking questionable water, and they can make even the worst-tasting water more palatable. Finally, instant coffee. It's not just caffeine, it's routine. That warm cup in the morning can make chaos feel normal. It keeps you alert during long nights and can even suppress appetite when rations are tight. A small jar or a few hundred packets cost next to nothing but carry immense mental value. Pro tip: stock a mix of bouillon flavors, keep a variety of electrolyte packets, and buy instant coffee in bulk. These small comforts can turn survival into something more than just enduring. And speaking of enduring, let's move on to item 13, the ultimate symbol of resilience and self-reliance. 13. Baking essentials. The foundation of civilization. Flour, sugar, salt, baking soda. These humble ingredients are the backbone of any survival pantry. They're cheap, versatile, and essential for turning basic calories into something that feels like home. But they're more than just ingredients. They're tools for self-reliance. Let's start with flour. Properly stored in a cool, dry, airtight environment, flour can last 3 to 5 years, or even longer if vacuum-sealed or stored as wheat berries. Wheat berries, by the way, are virtually immortal when sealed properly. They give you the flexibility to grind fresh flour anytime, ensuring you always have a renewable source of bread. Then there's baking soda and salt. These aren't just for cooking, they're survival multitaskers. Baking soda can be used for cleaning, preserving, and even first aid. Salt is a preservative, an electrolyte, and a key ingredient in food preservation. And let's not forget sugar. It's not just a sweetener, it's energy, a fermentation fuel, and a morale booster. Together, these ingredients form the foundation of civilization. They let you bake bread, make pancakes, and even create your own sourdough starter, a living, renewable source of leavening that doesn't rely on store-bought yeast. Pro tip: stock a mix of all-purpose flour, sugar, salt, and baking soda, and consider starting a sourdough culture. It's not just about survival, it's about thriving. Because when everything else runs out, bread still rises.